This is David for Big Bits, and in this video we are just going to do a quick simple update. It's going to be a pretty quick video for the most part, and then at the end of it we'll do some technical analysis on some of the charts. It's been a while since I've been able to do that. I'm recording this a little bit earlier in the day, so prices might change between now and then. But to the important thing that you probably noticed when you saw the title of the video, I am doing another giveaway. It is going to be a $25 Bitcoin giveaway. So if you're unfamiliar, that's just going to be $25 worth of Bitcoin sent to a selected winner. Now the contest is going to be hosted on Gleam. You can see that here. I'm going to be adding other entry methods as well. It's going to run for a month. I know it's a long time for just $25, but I only have 1,500 subs, so we're just getting started here, and it's really just to reward the people who are watching. So definitely make sure you're watching. Some of the questions, you get more entries if you're actually watching and you know what's going on. I just posted a video for this the other day. I might up the entry values for this one before I even post this video. But I'll be adding more like this and some other items, so you'll be able to have more entries and a better chance to win if you do things. I'm also going to be adding, let's see, what was it? Yeah, submit a URL. So I'm kind of looking for ideas for videos, even though I have plenty that I can do. I like to do videos about things that you all like. So if you want, you can submit a URL of an indicator or a strategy you would like to know more about. Now this could be a particular indicator you use, or you could have me look into an indicator that you just don't understand. Maybe it's something somebody else made up, and we can actually look at the source code. I mean, if it's just something completely random and there's no access to the source code, and I might not be able to tell you how it's put together, but if you find an indicator and you want to know more about it, just let me know. Or if you see a strategy out there, I am looking at the potential of making a video where we take a strategy with multiple indicators and we break it apart and put it back together in TradingView as an indicator itself, or even a strategy itself in TradingView. So if you have something that works in Forex or something else on another website that you've seen and you like their strategy and you want to see us on this channel recreate it, then submit that here. And of course there's all the standard things just to try and get people to come into the channel. But you'll also notice I do have a blog now, and this website's actually been up for a little while. I've just been tweaking it and kind of getting it ready. It's still far from perfect. This is kind of a side hustle for me, but you'll notice I do have it up. The blog works. There's several pages. There's even a little shop here that's hooked up for some e-commerce stuff. I'm not trying to push that on you, so don't worry about that. A lot of this is just me having fun setting up all my tech stuff that I like to do. So if you like these things, that's fine. And you will notice actually on the shop, that's where I got my hat that I've been wearing in some of the videos, and you'll actually see that hat again because it's in some of the videos I've already recorded that are going to be coming up. And this is really slow. It's on some shared hosting right now. Like I said, we're small right now, so it doesn't really matter. If I need to in the future, I'll bump up the hosting so it responds a little bit quicker. But you can see I had this snapback hat. That was the first thing added to the store, so I just tested it and I bought that for myself. I really enjoy it. I'm not really a fan of the snapbacks generally, but works pretty well. When I'm having bad hair days, I just toss it on before I make a video so I don't look like too much of a goober. All right. That takes care of the giveaway stuff. So if that's all you were here for, just look in the description of the video. There should be a link, and while you're down there, please like the video and subscribe. Those things really help me. If you don't want to do it, that's completely fine. If you just want to stay around now for the technical analysis, that's great, because there has been some good technical analysis here lately when you look at the charts. And if you've been following my TradingView profile, which we almost have 100 followers now, which is pretty cool, 534 likes. These are the scripts, but I've posted two new ideas recently, and one was a short for Bitcoin, the other is a long for Litecoin. And the short on Bitcoin is looking really good right now. If you look at the prices, I drew some lines on the chart, and pretty much everything lines up with that. And you can also see these, usually when I post ideas on TradingView, they'll also get posted to my Twitter. So please follow me there if you want to see those. If you don't want to follow me on TradingView and you just want to see the ideas, just follow me on Twitter and you can get those there. Now, I'll go ahead and explain what I did on these ideas here. Let me actually get out of the chart and go look at the ideas themselves. Okay, so this was my first idea that I posted recently, and that was that Bitcoin was looking south on many indicators. That means the price I thought was going to go down. The reason for that, there's a lot of reasons, and I know there's a lot going on in this chart if you don't understand and why I have so many indicators on here. I usually don't use this many when I'm looking at a chart, but I think they were all painting a pretty clear picture of what was about to happen, and that's why I included them all. Now, the first thing you'll notice, the green 50-day moving average was touched here, rejected. It was almost hit here, but it actually just rejected from the top of the Bollinger Bands. And not only that, with the Bollinger Bands, we were losing the midline, this kind of red line here on the Bollinger Bands. And typically when the price goes on one side or the other, then it kind of continues to trend in that direction. So if you go under the midline, it tends to stay under the midline and continue going down, and vice versa for if it's above. And when it looked like it was going below it, that was just another signal. Now, it held that particular day, and it held the next day, but it actually did break today. The other thing, the stochastic, it definitely had been up in a higher range. Now, this wasn't completely overbought, but it was in a higher range, and you'll notice on the daily chart here for the last several months, it hasn't gotten up that high anyway. So it had been up here for a while. It had already crossed down. And not only that, the stochastic RSI had already crossed down quite a bit, and that's usually a pretty good sign that it's going to continue to go down. Now, before I go on to the other indicators, I just want to flip back to the chart and show you. I kept those lines on here, and you can see they pretty much follow those lines exactly. When you look at the chart enough, like I do, you'll be able to see or anticipate what's going to happen with the price and the impact that's going to have with the indicator. So if you understand how the indicators are built and how their calculations work, you can understand how they are going to move based on, the candles in the past. And that's why we did the forecasting in some of the tutorial videos. If you haven't seen the forecasting tutorial videos, I definitely recommend you check that out, because that explains the impact of the previous candles that are being removed from the calculations and their impact on the upcoming candles. Now, that was a bit of a mouthful, but the smoothed RSI, which is another indicator I wrote, it's available on my scripts, public library on TradingView, it crossed down, and the direction of the smooth value trended down here, so it seemed likely that it was going to go down. And then of course we had the potential MACD crossover here, and I qualified or justified this idea of going short at, we've been going down for like 6 months in Bitcoin. I justified this basically just because all of these indicators, but also by saying it's going to be a short-term trade. The price, I believe, was going to go down to the bottom of the Bollinger Bands, and at that point it was going to decide if it was going to continue to dump more or to switch and reverse trends, and we're going to find our bottom back here. So let's take a look. I actually discussed that here. If the daily MACD crosses over and it continues to go down, then obviously we're looking at a very negative trend. What you're hoping for, and what I pretty much mentioned, was that for the long-term bull case is that these indicators kind of reset, which basically, if you read the idea that I posted, is the indicators have their values drop on very low price action. That way, when the indicators are at these oversold values, the price had actually moved up, and you'll get this divergence, so the price will be moving up, and hopefully that's what we'll find is a higher low here. And the indicators will all be low, meaning that it's going to be more likely that there's room on those indicators for the price to go up. So you'll see here This one went down on somewhat significant price action, but when the indicators move down here on very little price action, that could be a sign that price is going to reverse and move back up. And you'll notice it did that here, and that's kind of what we're going to have to hope for if we want Bitcoin to shoot up in price and change trends on this direction that it's been on. We're going to have to hope that the MACD kind of does a fake crossover here and shoots back up on the next candle or so, or very shortly after. Otherwise, these MACD trends tend to escalate. You'll notice here there's a crossover and price continued to drop down and it continued to go. It does happen often. You'll notice here there was a fake MACD crossover, and also here there was a fake MACD crossover. Yeah, I'm making sure my head isn't in the way here because I do that sometimes. So we had those fake MACD crossovers here, but if you look back here, this was a pretty genuine one. As you can see, the price continued to go down, and if it's a genuine crossover here, then that's something to be concerned about if you're hoping for this to change directions. Let's go back to the price here, or the actual chart, excuse me, the live chart. You'll notice the MACD didn't decrease as much, but if you understand the indicator, since the price is now lower, it's actually harder for the MACD to drop that low because it's a difference in a couple of different EMAs. So the lower the price gets, the less volatile this is, the less down or further up it can go. But while the price is increasing, let's go back here, you'll notice as the price increased and it was above the current price, it moved much more in an absolute term than it did here. And then I got my head in the way after I just talked about it. Like I said, when the price was up really high here, it moved more in an absolute term than it did here. That's all there is to take away from that. Now, let's see, what else was there? There was also the other idea that I had posted, the Litecoin still long on the weekly. This is a much smaller position that I would take, and that is looking at Litecoin on a much larger time frame, and that is the weekly candle. And right now, on the daily chart, at this particular moment, doesn't look very good. It's pretty much just like Bitcoin was yesterday, except the price is already moving down. Let me switch this back to the weekly chart. Okay, this is back on Coinbase. Now, a lot of the reasons I was selling Bitcoin and not too keen on Litecoin right now is because these particular indicators were going down and they were still relatively high. So they had plenty of room to go down. Whereas on the Litecoin weekly chart here, they've been down for a long time. They've got a lot of room to go up, and there's the histogram on the MACD is getting much smaller. Okay, that means these lines are getting ready to cross over, and of course there's always the option for the fake out, but on the weekly chart it's a lot harder to fake out on these crossovers. So if it does cross over, that's going to be really good. And part of the strategy here, I originally posted this idea back here when the price was like $58, is that I said it was a good time to accumulate, and that's what I'm kind of doing in this position, just going to accumulate over weeks, and hopefully we get a nice bump at some particular time, and it takes care of itself. This is more like investing or swing trading as opposed to day trading like a lot of people would expect. This is on a weekly chart, so you got to be patient. I'm not too worried about it. So just keep that in mind. I'm not a financial advisor, so don't take that as actual advice. These are all just ideas for fun. But I did actually buy some Litecoin back here, and I have continued to add in down here. Hopefully, what we'll see is something similar to this, where the price causes stochastic to go well below and stay below for a while. And as you can see, it can continue to drop the price considerably the longer it stays down there. But you saw a nice rally here, and as you dollar cost average down during this time, hopefully you can exit with profit when those indicators come back up. So that's the ideas on that. I want to take a look at a couple more. Let's take a look at the Litecoin ratio. This is on the weekly chart. It's kind of in a similar situation. versus Bitcoin. The one issue is it fell below prior supports from the last couple of years here. Really not much below it here, all the way down to 0.0032 on the weekly chart. Now it could go down there versus Bitcoin. And it doesn't even mean Litecoin's price in USD has to go down. It could just mean that Bitcoin could rally really hard and Litecoin not so much, and its comparative versus Bitcoin would go down. Although we do have the positive MACD crossover. Now this could cross back down, but a lot of times when you get these crossovers that are this low, a lot of times the price either continues to stay in a neutral area or it continues to drop somewhat or even come up slightly. So it stays within a fairly tight range as the MACD continues to trend back up towards this kind of neutral area here. And then a big move will happen, which will kind of determine the next direction of it for a major trend. Let's see. The smooth RSI appears to be flatlined here, and that's a pretty good sign. It's been low for a very long time, and you'll notice it hasn't really done that in the past. It did do it here. It's pretty close to actually here. So if the pattern kind of repeats itself, we're probably about this far into this particular segment, and we could be due anyway. So something to keep an eye on there as well. Let's take a look at it on the daily chart, though. I believe it's not doing too well either. Yeah, they've kind of turned around. They look like they're heading back down. It's in a similar shape to its USD symbol as well. So let's take a look at Ethereum versus US dollar. Same situation as Litecoin. Charts pretty much look exactly the same other than the price on the y-axis. Everything appears to be headed down for a short period of time. And unfortunately, the way the chart looks, it looks like it might be making new lows within the recent time frame here of this trend. So that's not very good. Let's switch it out to the weekly. And this is actually a little bit different than Litecoin. Everything is still kind of trending down. MACD is down, smooth RSI is continuing to go down, stochastic is well down, and stochastic RSI is down. Now, may not be a bad time to accumulate, like we said with Litecoin. But in the short term, on the weekly chart, it still doesn't look incredibly good. But like I said, if you believe in the project, then certainly at the end of these lower periods on these particular indicators, and especially the smooth RSI, is a good time to consider accumulating and dollar cost averaging for a chance to take profits a little bit later. Now, let's look at its Bitcoin ratio. And here it is on its way down on these indicators. MACD looks like it's going to cross down potentially, although it's really tight. Price has been moving down fairly steadily versus Bitcoin, and it kind of looks like it's going to kind of stay in a tight range at least for a little while, if not move down. So not looking too great there. Let's move on. Looks like XRP on the USD chart. I need to choose another exchange. There's not much history there on Coinbase. Let's go to Poloniex. They have a lot of history there. So it looks like it's kind of testing support back here. If you're not familiar with what support and resistance are, it's a pretty basic concept. Definitely Google that one. But there's a lot of price action here, which means there's a lot of people in positions there. They might want to defend it. And that's kind of what's going on. These indicators are already down. The momentum seems to be slowing down on them, although that doesn't mean a whole lot. Stochastic, or the smooth RSI is still going down, and the MACD is still going down. So we could test the lower range of that support, or even lose it entirely. That's yet to be seen. Let's take a look at its Bitcoin comparative here. And let's see, that was from a previous ID. I'm going to go ahead and delete that stuff. Let's see, continuing to go down, it appears like, and a potential MACD crossover. But it does have some support down here in this particular range. So as it looks like with a lot of the major alts, they might be in a good place to try and accumulate versus Bitcoin. Back to one of my favorites, basic attention token. Let's see, Binance, I think has the most history on it. This is a weekly chart. Not looking too great on the weekly chart, although the MACD is still continuing to trend up. You'll notice the histogram is kind of stalled out here. And the stochastic and stochastic RSI are losing a bit of momentum here. So want to keep an eye on that. There's really not much support below where it was before. So really have to keep an eye on how it's going. But the daily doesn't look so bad. I've been looking at it quite a bit. I followed it all the way up to the 30 or the 3,000 Satoshi range, and then of course it had a double top, came back down underneath of all of the moving averages, and now it's went back up above them all. It's going to have to pump considerably to keep the 50-day moving average from crossing under the 100, and it looks like the stochastic RSI is turning down, but the stochastic is still up fairly high, so we could continue to move upward in a range here before there's an actual downtrend for a little while, but not so certain on that one. Let's look at its USD price. Now it follows pretty well with the Bitcoin price, although it did decouple a bit here and went up considerably the last few days. It does appear like it might be moving down on all of the indicators here, so it's not necessarily the best. There was some support back here, so we'll see if that holds if it comes back down again, but it's awfully bearish with the moving averages all below each other here in order. Now let's see. I can think of another one here that we would like to do. Let's see. Sometimes I do Stellar, and I don't even know why I do it. It's not even that great of a chart to look at, but here's the daily chart versus Bitcoin for Stellar. It's actually moving up on the stochastic, although the stochastic RSI has lost momentum towards the top here. MACD is moving up, smooth RSI is moving up. This might not be too terrible to take a chance on, although you'd want to have a pretty tight stop loss below it, just because there's potential for it to find new lows yet again on the chart. Not very far below where it is either. I want to see this one versus the USD as well. Let's see, Binance. Yeah, so it's pretty similar, except on the USD chart it looks really bad. It kind of reminds me of the Ethereum chart, where it kind of tanked, bounced, and it looks like it's going to go back down again, as they've all kind of turned down here. I'm not really looking at the Bollinger Bands too much right now. They're not really too important. I typically only look at those unless we're in a range. So in case you were wondering why I've got those hidden, even though I used them in the idea earlier. Let's see, what else do we have here? I want to do one more at least, and I know I forget some of the major ones sometimes. Give me just a moment. Let me look up something really quick. BNB. That's a good one to look at. Let's look at it versus the US dollar first. Yeah, it's like all the other alts we've been looking at versus the USD. It looks like it's about to go down, and looks like it could go down quite a bit. There's not a ton of support until down here around $10. So let's look at it versus Bitcoin to see how it's doing there. Seems to me like BNB really needs to have Binance come out with some more IEOs for them to have a good time here soon. But similar to its USD chart, it looks like it's getting ready to go back down versus Bitcoin here. They all look like they're wanting to turn down. Of course, none of this is guaranteed, but that's what it's kind of looking like to me. It looks like it's about to go back down. If it has support, it's down here somewhere in this particular range, around 15,000 something Satoshis. So might be worth another look back there. Let's look at it on the weekly, though, see if it's any better. Not really. The weekly doesn't look that great. Not at all. So yeah, I definitely think it's probably going to revisit the support here, but Who knows? Let's take a look at it on the weekly for the USD chart. This one's not so bad. This reminds me of the other charts where I said it might be an okay idea to start accumulating in. Now, if it does find support in that range, then it's definitely not a bad idea to dollar cost average in, because there's not much room for it to go down if that's where it finds support. So I think that's going to be all for the video. Make sure you check out the giveaway, $25 giveaway. I do have 3 videos already recorded that are going to come out next week. Now, those videos are going to be one after the other, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week, and they are all going to be related. It's kind of like a mini series within the development series, and I'll actually show you what I'm doing here. Let me add an indicator here. My scripts scoring development. This is what I've been working on, and let me move it up. I know these charts are getting awfully small now, and then let's go back to Bitcoin. Now, this particular indicator is trying to help us find a good time to buy by combining multiple indicators. So, for example, I believe we are using the stochastic, and we are also using the RSI to determine the optimal time to buy by using a point system. So the lower these are and the longer they are that low, the better opportunity it is to buy. Now, it was a really bad bear market here, so it's kind of hard to tell there. So it's not really meant for that kind of stuff. But if you're trading within a range, maybe on these hourly charts, it works a little bit better. Not really there. But just the general concept is you're taking these indicators and you're combining them for a point system. You can see it worked really well on the 3-day chart here. And it kind of worked well here. It's just like any other indicator. You got to find out what you're looking for. But basically the main thing is we're looking at multiple indicators. We're combining them into one. We're assigning them points. And by assigning them points, you're essentially giving them a confidence value. So the lower the RSI is, the more points that was worth. Okay, so that's why it had more points here. And the longer it stayed below a certain threshold, it got even more points. So that's why it continued to go up. And not only that, we discussed some other topics within that, such as for loops, and actually explained some of that. There's a couple other concepts. I can't remember what they are right now, but those videos are going to be posted soon. And I already have another indicator ready to go. And if you have any ideas, please comment below and let me know what those might be. And I think this video has probably went on a little long, but I really appreciate everyone watching, and thank you. Have a nice day.